City of Northglenn, Channel 8, keeping you informed of events in your community.
Call the regular City Council meeting to order. Joanna, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Downing?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dodge? Here. Councilmember Snetzinger? Here. Councilmember Malika?
Here.
Councilmember Sowers?
Here.
Councilmember Joe Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Becky Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Whitman?
Here.
Councilmember Escabel?
Here.
Thank you. Would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jim, do we have any responses to citizen inquiries?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Are there any additions or deletions from council? Hearing none. The first thing we have then under presentations is the June Neighborhood Beautification Awards. Jenny, do you want to come forward? Sure. And council, would you meet me down?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're here for the first of the Summer Beautification Awards. I want to tell you a little bit about the program in case you don't remember. It's been months now, right? The Northglenn Neighborhood Beautification Program was established in 1988 to recognize residents who do an outstanding job of making their homes and their yards beautiful. The city is divided into 13 areas, and we have a volunteer judge in each of those areas. Nominations are received from neighbors, other residents, council members, and sometimes homeowners themselves. In June, July, and August, winners are chosen by the judges and receive a large lawn sign to display for a month and receive a certificate and recognition here at a city council meeting. So this year, the residents receive awards for the following categories. Yard of the Month, which is given each month in June, July, and August. The Long-Term Home Beautiful Award, which is given out in August only. And then this year we brought back, in accordance with our citywide conservation efforts, we brought back the Water-Wise Yard of the Month Award. And that award is given to people that have less grass or turf area, more plants, flowers, trees, and shrubs. So it's not totally without grass necessarily. Still has a lot of live plant material, but just hopefully uses less water, which we all need to be aware of at all of our homes. So we're really excited tonight to have everybody here with us that could join us. I have spoken to all of the families, and everybody was super excited to get the award. Work schedules, vacation, etc. make it difficult for a lot of families, but I do appreciate the ones that could come tonight. We're really excited to honor you guys. So what we're going to do is show the picture of your homes, and then we'll call you up and you can receive your certificate and meet the city council. Okay? Wonderful. So the first home we have is John and Linda Lee, and this is a Water-Wise award, and it's at 33 31 East 105th Court. So if I could ask them to come up, that would be great.
Congratulations. Would you like to say something? I always love to do that.
No, we try to do everything we can to conserve. We like a lot of color, a lot of different variety of plants, and using natural material. We use a lot of stone and evergreens, that sort of thing. So that basically what we try to do. A lot of labor.
A lot of labor.
Keeps you busy.
You are the laborer.
I'm the laborer. She's
Well, it's a good partnership that way, right? Okay, all right.
I'm the servant. She
Don't
tells
go
me what to
anywhere.
do.
Okay. Would you like to shake hands with the council? Sure. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
I didn't know.
Congratulations. Well, mine too, but we don't have to go like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to your wife. You've done a good job.
I have no choice. Been with her too long.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, oops, I apologize, sorry. Maybe I'll get it right. Okay, the next WaterWise award is for Francisco Pacheco at 11571 Gilpin Street. Let's give them a hand. The next WaterWise award is for John Elliott at 10463 Carlisle Street. The Carters weren't able to be here tonight, but they live at 10952 Blue Jay Lane. And Albert Davis at 249 Muriel Drive, another WaterWise. And we have Mumtaz and Mela Kargar at 10989 Clayton Street. Lots of pretty green yards. Carolyn Duglinski at 11893 Claude Way, and I know they're here.
Hello, how are you? Congratulations. Would you like to say something?
Well, I have been a Northglenn resident for 47 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Little house, and my two children have attended public school here in Northglenn, and very pleased.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Would you like to meet council?
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, the next yard of the month is Jerry Nichols at 1743 East 115th Avenue. We have Raymond and Gloria Montez at 2024 East 115th Avenue.
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go. Would you like to say something?
So I
No?
I've lived here for 45 years and I enjoy the city.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, and you did a wonderful job. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful. Congratulations. Very nice. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Raymond. Okay, the next yard of the month, whoops, is Jenny just, oh, I really am goofing this up, I apologize. Okay, I'm hurrying, don't get mad.
Other way.
We'll never give up.
Going down.
No, you're going in the
Okay,
right
we're almost
direction.
there. Okay, almost, there we go. Okay, so the next yard of the month is Najia Hugo at 809 Ogden Circle.
So, thank you. Would you like to say something? Oh. Thank you, but you can do that if you want to.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Want to say something?
Thank you.
Go ahead, you can say something. Yeah.
Thank you, good job. It's beautiful yard.
You can still say something.
Beautiful yard.
With this time, we have three years. 2012, 2014, and 2016.
Well, three's a charm, I guess, right? It's good. Okay, we have Nona Arguello at 10742 Lauren Lane, and she was not able to be here. Kathleen Lozano at 205 East 106th Place. Michael Schroeder at 11086 Pearl Street. Ken and Sherry Spake at 10927 Melody Drive. Gary and Linda Patterson at 11028 Lambert Lane.
Thank you. Congratulations. You had that little bit there too. Would you like to say something?
Even though I have a lot of turf, I use a lot of the water irrigation technology to try to conserve water as much as I can in my yard. So again, I try to be proactive as much as I can. So again, thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
The more water you conserve, the more water I can.
I'll remember that. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
So great to meet you, Gary.
Thank you. I hope it did.
I know you will. Nice to meet you. We have Susan and John Schwartz at 1468 West 102nd Avenue.
Congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks.
Would you like to say something? Or
I want to get some pointers on the less water use.
All right.
We do have a lot of shade in the backyard.
Flow, but
It helps.
Yeah,
And,
it does.
I was wondering if you want to come over and see our backyard. You can get backyard month.
Put that on your list. Add that to my list,
oh, well, thank you. We have competition for the backyard, my friends. Been a process for years. Oh.
Thank you, nice to meet you. This is a competitive group tonight.
Yeah.
And we have Rich and Bernice, and I did not put their last name up there, but they're at 249 Belford Drive. Look how beautiful that home is. All right, and then that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joanne. I get so nervous about courts. Yeah.
Oh, I was sticking my tongue out of
All right, next on the agenda is economic development. Debbie?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Our economic development report for this month is I'm going to concentrate on our fourth annual business survey. This is the fourth year that we've done this. 91 responses from the survey. That was 10 more than last year. 55% of them were from the service industry and 21% from the retail industry. So it kind of tells you the makeup of the people that took the survey. And again, they're the smaller companies. 77% of them had less than 10 employees and operated in less than 5,000 square feet. So again, that's our typical entrepreneurial type of company for Northglenn. I'm going to talk about the 5 top challenges because I think it's very interesting because it totally flipped from last year and the year before. But I'm going to go over a couple stats because I think it's important for the first challenge, the most important challenge to our business. 52% plan on making capital investments this year. So that's on furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So again, they're expanding, right? They're going to be spending money here. 49%, or almost 50%, plan to expand locally within the next 24 months. 57% plan to expand products and/or markets. 93% expect to increase sales. The number one challenge for our businesses is limited room to expand. And this is a challenge for Northglenn. You know, we have almost a 0% vacancy rate in industrial. Our office rates, vacancy rates are at 4%. Our retail rates, we've got the marketplace, which has some high vacancy rates, but overall, the majority of our shopping centers are full. There's hardly any opportunities there. We will and have lost businesses because there is no place for them to move. So that is a challenge for us. The number 2, and just to go a step back, the limited room to expand was this year. Last year it was employee turnover. And the year before that, it was workforce development, all related. So it's interesting how it has shifted over the last 3 years from workforce to actually doing business in Northglenn. The number 2 challenge was systems and procedures to manage growth. Again, that means they're growing, and they don't know how fast they're growing and what to do. In 2016, it was staff training. Again, workforce development related. Number 3 for 17 was expanding sales. And the year before that, it was access to local suppliers. 2017, it was access to customers, which was kind of an interesting one for this year. And the year before, it was speed to market. And in 2017, staff training was an issue, and workforce quality was the year before. So again, there was some major shifts this year from the last 2 to 3 years that we've actually been taking this survey. And a lot of them to do with they're going to be growing and not a place to be able to grow to. In last month, we had a ribbon cutting. I think there was many of you there at Community Reach for their new Stages, which Stages is a 16-bed sub-acute adult residential facility on Highline. That's part of Community Reach. We were pleased to announce that they've opened. We did 6 ribbon cuttings from March to May. They're listed in your report. In May, we did ribbon cuttings at the Fashion Exchange, which is over in Hillcrest, and on the Dollar, which is in the Marketplace. New businesses for this last month was Community Foot and Ankle Clinics. They moved into the SEL Hospital on the 3rd floor. They took 7,500 square feet and employ about 9 people. Fashion Exchange, as we just talked about, they moved into the Hillcrest Shopping Center over where the pet store used to be. We did 6 BRE visits, or business retention expansion visits, and our digital billboard, which is again very successful. You'll see 3 names on there. Those are 3 of the businesses that actually won 1 month of free advertising on the billboard for taking the survey. So again, we were trying to incentivize folks to take it, which we've done for the last 3 years. But Branded Image, Hogan Health and Chiropractic, and On the Dollar were the winners for that. And also wanted to bring to your attention, I know I've sent some emails out on this, but just as a reminder, Adams County Site Selection Conference is July 31st through August 2nd. Northglenn is a sponsor, and we will be sponsoring and hosting a site selector during that time. And on August 2nd, from 7:30 to 9:30, there's going to be a site selector feedback breakfast. All of you are, of course, invited. We have a table there, and it'll be an interesting breakfast, understanding what those site selectors found out by visiting Adams County. And also, they bring in some really good insight on how we might be able to improve. On Wednesday, they're actually going to be touring Westminster, Thornton, Northglenn, and unincorporated. So those site selectors will actually be seen and being in our city. So welcome you to come to that. Any questions for me? Questions?
Yeah, a real quick one. When we're providing the business improvement grant for this Hearts Cafe, what exactly are we providing for them?
Well, to step back, Hearts Cafe was going to be signage. They were also going to be approved for a BUOG, which is a utility assistance program. However, Hearts Cafe is no longer going to be moving into Northglenn. They were a startup company. It just didn't work out for them. So those grants will not be awarded.
Okay, all right. So we can scratch that item,
yep.
Right? Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Kyle?
I saw that in our agenda tonight that it looks like we're kind of coming public with what's going on 104th and Melody.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes.
What's the timeline on what's going in at the Huron Center? Do we
the Huron Center, we're ready to close on 7/7. I'm going to knock on wood a whole bunch because there's always something that could potentially come up, but I can tell you I'm feeling really good about it. They called today to transfer over the utilities, so that's a good sign, and I've got a conference call with them on the closing, which will again be happening on 7/7, so I'm feeling very good about that.
Kind of a lucky day you guys are choosing there.
Yeah, 7/7, you're right, good point. As long as everything goes smoothly, 7/10, which is a Monday after, they will be mobilizing for construction to start. They'll be closing off one entrance on the 104th going in, because all of the construction will be at that one corner there. So again, they'll start construction soon. It'll take 6 months. We have a tentative staging plan. Right now, it's being finalized. When I say staging plan, that's when the construction is going to happen throughout the entire center. And it will be doing construction behind the building as well. So it's 6 months, excuse me, of construction throughout the center, including the RVs that will be built by the Bank of the West. The one entrance on 104th will be closed. Also, the Bank of the West has an entrance that goes coming out or going in from the Huron Center. There's that one little, it's not even an entrance or exit. That will be closed off permanently, just as an FYI.
So to add on to Kyle's question, when do you think that they will make an announcement?
I've told everybody that on closing date, 7/7, when we know that everything has gone smoothly, that we will announce the 2 new tenants. It could be sooner, as long as I get approval, which I still, as of this afternoon, have not gotten approval from both of the tenants yet. So I have to respect their wishes of not to announce those.
So no sooner than 7/7.
It could be. It could be if I get permission from both of the tenants. But
okay.
Until then, 7/7. When they close and everything's signed, sealed, and delivered.
Or is 7/7 or whenever they decide to?
Well, I think at 7/7 they've closed, so that's what I'm using.
You're good, Debbie. Anything else?
I think, Kyle, you were referring to the 104th building, though, for
Belco. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I just knew
when you said Huron, and it was like...
I just wanted to make a point that that's become public, but we're still waiting on the Huron Center. So
yes, that's correct.
We know what's going into Belco.
So the Belco building is a National Coffee Center, but if you look at the plans, you will see which coffee center it is. And we haven't made a formal announcement yet, but...
For those who aren't reading it, it's Starbucks.
It is
there,
Starbucks.
I made the announcement for you.
All right. So great news about Starbucks. So Starbucks, the 2,200 square feet, I've been told not to announce it publicly, not to do a public announcement, but it has been done. So it's 2,200 square feet. They will be leveling the former Belco building, and it's planned to be open. It's a full-service restaurant. It will be planned to be open Q1 of 2018.
And they knew that was going to be a public record tonight.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. They do know that. And they knew it at the Planning Commission.
It's out there.
And they did know it at the Planning Commission as well. So they just asked that I don't do a press release. So.
And you didn't.
I didn't.
All right. All right. Is there anyone else? You better escape while you can, you know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. right, next is public invited to be heard, and I have the list here. And the first person to sign up, Allie Beeler. Allie, you want to come up?
Hi, many of you know me from, I guess, 2014 when I applied for my dispensary license. It's nice to see all of you. And for those who don't, I'm Allison Filer, and I do own Green Tree on 104th and Melody Drive. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I did just want to express my views on expanding our hours of operation. Okay. I think it would be a great idea for the city and its populace. Many people work late. Actually, our busiest hours are between 6 and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday and the weekends. I see close to 60% of our sales during those hours. So I think that shows a big impact on the after work hours. And if you're like me, you know, I go to work, I leave, let's say at 5, I go to the gym, and then I want to go grab something. I really can't do it if we're closing at 7 of the medical locations, which is what currently we close at 7 medical and 8 on the recreational side. So I think it would be a huge improvement for the people who live in the city of Northglenn. I hear a lot of times that they have to go to other dispensaries wherever they're working if they are coming back to live in Northglenn, and I would like to keep our money here in Northglenn instead of having them, you know, go to Denver or other cities. Additionally, we're kind of one of the last cities to do this. Boulder's till 10, Denver's till 10, Edgewater's till midnight, and pretty much the whole state is changing to go to 10 o'clock. So I really think that it would be at least advantageous for us to be on an equal playing field as the other surrounding cities to us. And to be honest, it would just be nice to be treated more similarly to other businesses with less stringent operating hours. So I just want to thank you for your consideration, and hopefully you guys will choose to expand our hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next we have Eric Spido. Come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate your time this evening. I too am here to support the change of hours of operation for marijuana dispensaries. As the mayor said, my name is Eric Spidel. I'm one of 4 owners of the Green Solution, not too far from here. I had the pleasure of sitting in front of the council about 7 years ago and hoping that you guys would take a chance on me to open a store here, and I want to continue to express my thanks to that. But again, tonight I'm here to discuss the hours of operation change. Some of the facts, if you don't know about the kind of what's happening around the city currently, the largest jurisdiction in Denver metro area, Thornton, just went rec. I'm sure you guys know that. 4 licenses that will be added here in the coming months. Just to the south of us in Federal Heights, there is an additional 5 licenses that are going recreational, amongst the ones here in Northglenn, of course. But I think the more important piece here is that both of those cities have expanded their hours outside of where Northglenn is currently. And to the speaker before me, Northglenn has always kind of been the progressive city when it came to recreational marijuana and kind of the marijuana community. And they've kind of taken the leap ahead. And I know that you know, not necessarily you want to fall behind the curve, but I do think there's some losses that can occur from that. And one of the things I want to lean on is really just our experience within expanded hours. We are actually in 6 current jurisdictions that see hours as late as midnight, but majority 10 p.m. Some of which we've been operating in for 3+ years. So we have a tremendous amount of experience seeing potential crime rates or expanded revenue. And I will tell you, we haven't seen crime rates increase, but we have seen our revenue increase due to offering those services beyond that 8 or 9 or 10 p.m. What I would recommend is if you are worried in any way about the crime or what that may cause, is dispensaries that may opt into the expanded hours. If you were to allow them, I would maybe suggest requiring them to add a security guard past like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. To ensure the safety of the patrons. But other than that, I just wanted to come up here and express my my desire to have the licenses or the hours of operations expanded for the licenses here in Northglenn, okay?
Yeah, all right,
All right,
thank you.
thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, next we have Kyle.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thanks so much for having the opportunity. I won't take too much of your time, just like the last two. I just wanted you to all know that, you know, we were obviously in favor of extending the hours, but I wanted to just point out a few key points. I wasn't sure if you had the opportunity to get some of my discussion points that we were able to send over to the mayor. If not, I'd be happy to forward it all to you. We have about 25 key points that we wanted to make sure you all knew. But most importantly, based on your the city manager's memorandum, you can see that no store is not open at 8 a.m. or past 8 a.m. So that's one key point we try to make, because we have lines out the door all morning. They're all staged in our stores in the morning, so it's really hard for, you know, some people to just be sitting there all morning waiting for us to open. So that's a key point there. And then the rest of them, after hours, are majority at 10 all the way up to midnight. Just like Eric had suggested, we have many stores that are open much later than 10, and we've never really had any adverse effect. And we have, you know, any of the records to prove that. One thing I want to suggest, pilot program. I mean, if you guys feel that, you know, it's something you don't want to dip all the way in, dip in, see what it feels like, and then, you know, if you don't see any adverse effects, you know, you always have that opportunity to pull it back. And you guys know you have an ordinance, so you can always do that. And then one other thing that I've done is that I surveyed about 1,800 customers in the last week, just to see what they had thought, and 93% of them said they thought adding hours was a good thing. So that's an overwhelming response at that point in time.
In Northglenn, 1,800 customers at your Northglenn?
Yeah, so about 200 of them were actual residents of Northglenn, and the rest weren't. And I'll be able to provide that as well in the survey if you're okay with that. I'll forward it over to you. Okay. And then the last point is just that, you know, it's not necessarily that it's inevitable, and it's not necessarily that it's a trend, but part of the progressive nature of cannabis is figuring out how to ensure you have access. And one thing that hasn't really progressed in Northglenn was that access. You guys have just been absolutely amazing from the get-go, because you were the most progressive city when it was probably the most risky. And I think now it's calmed down significantly, and there's a lot of opportunity to take advantage of. So really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Excuse me, can you please state your name for the record?
Absolutely. It's Kyle Spidell.
Thanks, Kyle.
I apologize.
I just want to let you know you took more time than the previous two.
Sorry about that.
Uh-oh. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak to council? Please.
I would be able to sign off.
Okay, sure. All right. And would you tell us your name?
I'm Aidan O'Donovan. I think most of you know me. I'm owner of Natural Selections on 104th. These guys summed almost everything up that I wanted to say, but I really want to echo their sentiments and, you know, really emphasize that, you know, it seems like all three of us have heard from the horse's mouth. We've definitely heard from customers that show up at 8 o'clock, you know, maybe they work at a restaurant, they get off at 9, and we have to send them, you know, we don't want to send them to the black market, so we send them down to Edgewater, where they're open to midnight, to, you know, to Thornton, where they're open till 10, or not Thornton yet because their licenses aren't, but Aurora. And then we lose those customers permanently. So, you know, once they try out another shop and they become accustomed to it, you know, if their working hours are such that they can't make it to our dispensaries while we're open, you know, they might never come back, and that's a lost opportunity, not just for us, but for the city as well. I'm not sure what time you guys allow your liquor stores to be open until. I know the state is midnight, but I don't know if Northglenn has more restrictive hours. But, you know, we are next to a liquor store. And, you know, I think that's a good idea that I think was what Kyle said about, you know, if you'd like, you can require security. We have security on site anytime we're open anyways, but, you know, if you're apprehensive, I think that, you know, that would be an easy pill to swallow for any of the licensees, to require after 8 o'clock you have a guard on site. And ultimately, when our guard is around, you know, it makes the whole shopping center safer, because, you know, people understand that there is somebody on site, whereas once we're closed and, you know, liquor store is still open, it might be, you know, a little bit easier of a target for potential issues. So I'm obviously in favor of extended sales, and thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council? Come on up.
But you only have 3 seconds to do it.
So what in the world happened? Even though this is Karen, but.
Okay. Honored Mayor and City Council of Northglenn. My name is Tim Morgan. I am the Director of Community Relations for Be Good Ventures, and we are located on here in Northglenn on 11450 Cherokee Street. I am here to be to state that we are against extending our opening hours within the City of Northglenn. We see absolutely no incentives that would justify extending hours until 10 o'clock. Fact is that our medical store in Denver has continued to operate until 7 o'clock now that they have extended hours there, and we see no changes in sales either way. Here in Northglenn, despite opening hours till 10 o'clock in many other municipalities, we have seen an increase in sales over the last couple of months compared to last year. We strongly believe that it is wise to take the more cautious approach when it comes to rolling out cannabis into our society. We really like Northglenn. We like a quiet and peaceful neighborhood that we reside in. I'm sorry. We strongly believe that the later the hours of operation occurs, there's bigger the chance for dual consumption, impulse buying. We do not see a major amount of people who desires to come and buy cannabis at 10, 11 o'clock. Edgewater, Aurora, some of them has of course been able to benefit from it. But I think one has to admit that, there is only so much income to be had. And extending the hours will only add a risk to the neighborhoods, make it less safe in the late hours, and I don't think the residents will want that. I've talked to several residents, not 200, but some who definitely thinks that it's operating just fine the way it is, and as long as we don't have any economic incentives to go ahead and extend our hours, we see absolutely no reason to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I was injured doing in the line of work, playing volleyball with the neighborhood association at Athmar Park. So who knew it could be so dangerous to work this job?
It's very dangerous, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
Dangerous sport.
Thank you.
Heal fast.
Thanks for trying to get back here, though.
No more volleyball.
You're right.
Thank you. I'm trying to put you on the bowling team.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council for about 5 minutes? All right. Seeing no one approach, we will go ahead and move on the agenda to the consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinances first reading, CB 1890.
A bill for a special ordinance rezoning from C4 commercial to planned unit development, certain real property in the city of Northglenn located at 550 West 104th Avenue in the county of Adams, state of Colorado, and amending the zoning map of the city of Northglenn.
Move to approve.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Again, this is a request to rezone the property located at the southwest corner of West 104th and Melody Drive from C4 commercial to PUD, planned unit development, for the construction of a new national coffee retailer with the drive-through. And we do recommend approval of this and recommend it's scheduled for a public hearing and second reading on July 10th.
Thank you. Discussion? Yes, Carol.
I don't have any questions, but I did want to say I was concerned that maybe they would put the drive-through speaker part close to the house on the west side, and I'm glad to see that they did not do that, since we have had issues at the Kentucky Fried Chicken for years over that. So anyway, I was glad to see that they placed it properly as far as I'm concerned. So that's it.
Any other discussion, comments? Please open the vote.
Vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CB 1890 on first reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next is CB 1891.
A bill for an ordinance amending section 11-5-2 Parent 69, Parent L of the Northglenn Municipal Code to allow the sale of eggs and honey from the licensed activity of the keeping of chickens and bees.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is a proposal to amend the home occupation regulations in the zoning ordinance to allow the sale of eggs and honey from licensed activities related to the keeping of chickens and bees. So we've had a study session on this last month, and we talked about potentially allowing this change. We did receive direction to do so, so this is the first reading. We do recommend approval and that you set the public hearing for second reading on July 10th.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, please open the vote.
Vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CB 1891 on first reading passes unanimously. And I would like to note for the record that the public hearings on CB 1890 and 1891 will be held on July 10th, 2017 here in City Hall Council Chambers.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move to resolutions. The first one is CR 68.
A resolution approving a correction easement agreement between the City of Northglenn and 2255 East 104th Avenue, LLC.
Move to approve.
Second. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. If you recall, we did an easement for the property located at 2255 East 104th Avenue for a sanitary sewer line, and that was approved back in July of last year. During the analysis and the design of the final construction of the sewer line, it was determined that the easement was not going to match exactly where the sewer line was going to be. So we're bringing back an amendment to you in the form of this resolution number 68 to really just make sure that the in the field matches what's on paper. So we recommend approval and are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 68 passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next is CR 69.
A resolution approving the master license agreement between the City of Northglenn and Mobility LLC for the use of public rights of way.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to approve a master license agreement between the city and Mobility, LLC, to allow Mobility to place their facilities known as small cell wireless facilities in the public right-of-way. We did have a study session on this where people from Mobility here were discussing the potential regulations that are coming out from the FCC. We felt it was better to have an agreement in place as opposed to have regulations from the federal government kind of imposed, if you will. And so we have this memorandum and a resolution that does authorize the mayor to execute the agreement with Mobility LLC if it's approved. We do recommend approval. There is one proposed right-of-way application near 100 First Place and Huron Street, and so that is the most pending application, if you will. And again, we recommend approval. And I saw Mr. Hoffman pull the microphone over in case he wants to add anything here tonight.
Corey?
I would add two things. First of all, I sent council a memo within the last several days on some recent state legislation. This master license agreement is consistent with the recently adopted state legislation related to small cell facilities. And then what has been added that was not in the master license agreement at the study session is the license fees we talked about. And the additional fees, which are consistent with the way in which Aurora manages their licensing, although in Aurora it's in a different, it's in legislation, it's in a policy. Here it's actually in the master license agreement, is in subsection B of section 5, where the licensee would pay an execution fee for execution of the master license agreement, plus similarly an application fee for each site. And so it is equivalent to the way in which Aurora is managing it as it does a very similar agreement with Mobility.
Okay, thank you. Kyle?
Thank you, Mayor. Corey, maybe you can answer this question. I have two issues. One, and I'm not sure if it's Mobilite or the industry, I'm a little concerned about legislation and proposed legislation to take authority away from municipalities. in regards to this issue, and maybe you can speak to that a little bit, or...
The legislation has already been adopted at the state level.
Yeah.
And this is consistent with that legislation in which we can essentially charge actual costs or something related to actual costs.
And I understand that,
Okay.
but I've heard there's additional legislation potentially down the road. So that's something I would like our legislative committee to potentially look at. And then, two, I couldn't find it in the contract, but I brought it up at the study session in regards to, like if you have like a downtown area or specific light poles that that are aesthetic or whatnot, and the requirement that their boxes meet that, that don't interfere with that feeling or...
So to the extent that they are our poles, we can always say no. To the extent that we, as part of we have an ability under this to have a review process for the site application fee, and we'll be able to capture it at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Carol?
So Corey, could you update a little bit on the petition that they're filing with the FCC? Because, no.
I don't have any additional information beyond what was in the original. And frankly, I don't want to say concerned. I'm satisfied that this is consistent with the recent state legislation that's adopted. And the state legislation really provides the same parameters for small cell facilities as for other telecommunication providers in the rights of way. And this allows us, at least my recommendation is to meet that balance of still having the discretion to manage our rights of way as it relates to these small cell providers, and still giving them the access that the new state legislation requires.
Are there other providers that are petitioning also, or is it just mobility?
At the federal level,
Yeah.
I believe there are. I can certainly get you more information on that. We are also being approached in Northglenn by other providers, and if this agreement is approved, we will hope to use it as a template for other providers.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mayor, I have a quick question.
Kim?
We'll go in
Oh,
the
Jordan?
front first.
Okay,
Thank
sorry.
you. So I know they spoke to having one site, but the rest of the sites that they choose to have, or when they deem that they need them there, they will sign an agreement or a petition to come to the city again, and then you will choose to accept it and what poles they go on. Is that correct?
So there is basically a process they have to go through that for each of the sites to show that there wasn't better alternatives, if you will, to attach to a pole. They go through that with each site application. We get to review each site application. But this is the master license that says no matter where your facility goes, it's subject to all the rules in the master license.
Okay. And I know that when we were in SEMA, we had met with Excel Energy and had this conversation of providing poles with this on it, or what they were doing with the partnership there. So where does that play into this? I'm not too sure. I guess I should have asked Excel more when we were in their meeting, but.
So what Councilmember Sowers was referencing, we had a good meeting with Jerome Davis from Excel, as well as some of his staff. And one of the things he had offered to us is that he knows this is a coming technology, they're going to have to deal with it, and that they're actually looking at ways they can change their framework to actually allow these to be placed on Excel poles. Now, there may be a corresponding, revenue piece that they may be looking for with that, but this is definitely a paradigm shift for Excel, whereas several years ago they were concerned about any jurisdiction even hanging Christmas lights on these things. So there's clearly some engineering that would need to go into it. I don't know if there's any other regulatory things they need to change, but they said they were very open to it.
And that's precisely the type of mechanism that is included within this agreement, so that one of the things that mobility will have to show is that they have had discussions if there is a pole adjacent or nearby, and that for some reason they could not provide it at that location. That comes first before erecting a new pole.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Kim?
So what does this do for our residents, and why should they care that we're doing this?
I'll try to answer it this way, although this is somewhat of a policy question. This tries to, again, achieve the balance between the fact that these providers have an entitlement under state law to using the city's rights of way, and the city being able to manage those rights of way to the maximum extent allowed by Colorado law, so that the city staff can require these providers to go through these steps to assure that it has the least impact on the city's rights of way. Because ultimately, I think the tension is, from your perspective, certainly from my perspective, the rights of way are to carry vehicles and people. There's other uses of the rights of way that the legislature has said are mandated, and this is one of them. And so trying to achieve that balance that has the best interest of the city and its residents and still allows access to these providers.
Right, but for our residents, does this mean maybe better cell service, cheaper cell service? I mean, what benefits do we have for our residents?
I am not an engineer, and I don't know the technology, but certainly at your study session, that is what was represented to you.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure so that our residents understand why we're even looking at this and trying to do this, not only to protect the city, but also to help provide better communication services available for our residents, not necessarily through the city, but in partnership with this. And then who is actually going to be reviewing and approving? It looks like we have a city representative. Who is that city representative?
It is the city engineer.
Okay. And are we going to be looking at any regulations or any codes or anything to adopt a policy or anything on how many we're going to allow in the city? And we're just going to, they can put them up on any pole they want, or, I mean.
This has those type of allows us to assess that, but at the end of the day, we cannot put a limit on the number under state law.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to just make sure, so.
But this encourages co-location, this encourages placing elsewhere before there is a new pole that's placed.
Okay. And so for our residents who may be concerned about having whatever these little boxes or whatnot all over our city on every pole, just remember that it's the state level where the legislation is occurring.
Yes.
Not
it was
at
adopted
our
this past
level.
session.
So if you are concerned about limits and how many we have, we can get you a list of our state reps. I'm just saying.
Okay, is there anyone else? Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 69 passes unanimously.
Next, we have CR 70.
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Barker Rinker CCAT Architecture for a recreation, senior center, and theater facility programming and staffing assessment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of council. I'm going to hit some highlights here in the memo, and then Amanda Peterson is here to answer any detailed questions you may have about the process we went through here. But essentially, this is one of our next implementation steps for the Civic Campus Master Plan, and it's to retain a Civic Campus Engagement Consultant. Long story short, we're trying to identify the demand side of the equation for a new recreation center, senior center, and theater. And so there was a RFP process that we followed, and we are recommending approval of a resolution that would approve the contract with Barker Rinker CCAT Architecture BRS in the amount of $116,071. We did receive 3 proposals, and after extensive discussion and some revisions to the proposal to reduce some of the scope, we got it as close as possible to our initial $100,000 target. And we believe that funds will be available in the Capital Projects Fund, and we do recommend approval of this resolution.
Thank you. Discussion. Carol?
So can you explain at the point where it was modified that Barker Rinker was going to remove the scope of work that was in excess of the need? Can you tell me what was removed for it to come down like that, in that amount?
Yes, I can give you a summary. We can certainly provide you more detail on that. But it was really looking at each of the public meetings, who was attending each of those meetings, a multidisciplinary team. There's multiple, we have Ballard King, who's doing the financial assessment, Barker Rinker CCAT, who's the lead, and then architect, MIG doing public engagement portion, and they really worked through with us as staff which portions of which meetings, say, MIG didn't need to be a part of, so we weren't necessarily bringing the entire team to every piece of the public engagement process. That was one of the biggest chunks. Staff would be happy to, we can provide a comparison of the two if needed.
So do you feel confident that with those cuts that they made, they're still going to deliver a good product? I mean, it's a pretty hefty cut that they made.
It is a hefty cut. BRS was very responsive. They did sit down with staff when given the opportunity to revise their scope of work and their price structure, and really feel like we did not remove anything that would be detrimental to the project.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Antonio?
Yes. After our last city council meeting, I had a concern that we were talking about the enterprise fund and how much money we needed to get water within our city and so on and so on.
Excuse me, Antonio, please refrain from discussing executive session items in open meeting.
Oh, I didn't know that was an I'm sorry.
Please, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I feel like we got our priorities a little bit crossed here. We're spending $116,000 for consultant fees, and my constituency says that we have in the past voted down a rec center, and yet we're spending money to study whether we need or want a rec center. I understand that in the past or at least I went along with this idea of the civic campus improvement, but it seems like we're putting the cart before the horse here. Can somebody help me understand why we need to spend this kind of money to go forward when we don't even know if we're going to do that?
Well, if I may respond, I believe that as direction from the council, as the next step of the Civic Center Master Plan, which identified a desire for Recreation Center, Senior Center, Theater, amongst other things on this site, that this consultant team, the purpose of this is to lay a good foundation so that we're able to focus on that public engagement portion, see what it is that people really want to see in a new facility, and know that we've gotten strong public participation as we move forward in this process.
And that's exactly what this is all about, is trying to find out what the next step is and getting the public engagement, and everybody involved with this. Because the community has been asking for recreation center and different amenities that they hope that we can provide. So we want to find out what the entire community wants. And so with that, Kyle?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for doing this. The team that you brought together is an all-star team, and I went through all of their resumes, and I mean, it's a rock star team, it looks like. I appreciate you guys doing this because I think that, we talk a lot in this city about trying to be reactive rather than proactive, and this is definitely on the reactive side, seeing what this is going to look like for our city, and I think that's important that we do that and not just stay stagnant or status quo. The one question I do have, though, is that in the plan, and I mean, it looks like page 29 of 60, looks like we did have a plan done for a recreation center back in 2007. And I'm kind of curious, obviously that's several years old now, but I'm curious if that plays into this at all, or if it will be utilized at all, or if that's just kind of a loss.
It absolutely will be utilized as we move forward, whether it was specific, BRS was the team that worked on that project. Another team would have had access to those records as well. But we did discuss that with the BRS team, how they would utilize that past information to verify that that's still accurate while not kind of getting stuck in what was in 2007 if the community has a desire for something different.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, anyone? Kim.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to, I actually agree with Antonio that I think that I'm also concerned about the direction that we're moving based on all of the unmet or unfunded items that we have coming down that will be required either due to state or federal law. I'm a bit concerned about this right now as well. While I would absolutely love for the city to have a new rec center, I think that we have things that we need to look at first, and I do think that $116,000 for a plan that we won't even be able to implement, I think, due to all of the other things that we're going to have to do, is really pricey for me. I just think that's a really high cost for a plan that we won't get to for years down the road. And so what's going to stop us? We're going to do this now. We're not going to have any movement forward for doing any construction or anything, I would say, for at least 5 years. So we just had one done 7 years ago, so now we're going to have another new one done for $116,000. And in 5 or 7 years, when we can get the chance to maybe start implementing it, what's going to stop us from having to do a brand new one at that time and spending another 116, or by then 150?
Any other discussion? Any other comments? Okay. All right. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I know. I'm still talking in my head. Give me just one more minute. Gosh, the wall.
I'll close that vote, and CR 70 passes with 3 no votes. The no votes cast by council members Snetzinger, Becky Brown, and Escabel.
Thank you. Next is CR 71.
A resolution in support of the Paris Climate Agreement.
Move to approve.
Second. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, and members of council. You'll notice that we have a resolution here and no memorandum necessarily, but essentially the summary is that we were requested to put this on the agenda for council to take formal action, and so Mr. Hoffman, Mr. Svoboda crafted this. Most credit to Mr. Hoffman. And the bottom line is under Section 1, if this is approved, it authorizes the mayor to execute the Climate Mayor's Proclamation on behalf of the city of Northglenn. And so tonight I actually left you a copy of what that letter is on your dais. It's actually probably shorter than our resolution is, but essentially that would be the document or the letter that would be signed if you approve this resolution.
Thank you. And for the record, I had been approached to sign this letter in the past, in the past, but did not, and we discussed having some movement through council. So shall I read it or into the record, or what would, council has had a chance to read it already? Is there any discussion? Okay, Kyle.
I just want to quickly thank staff for drafting this up. I think it's a great thing. I'd also like to thank Councilmember Esquivel for bringing it to our attention. Obviously, I think a lot of us have seen it in the news, but seeing Northglenn take a leadership role in this issue, I think is important, and I think it's an important thing for our community to recognize that we do care about our climate. So.
All right. Any other discussion? Thank you, Mayor. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Please open the vote.
Vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 71 passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next discussion items. Ralston House design update. Jim? David?
Mr. Willett will be coming to the podium.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'd like you to refer to the memo that I provided in grant application number 2. I'm pleased to inform you tonight that the project received $25,000 from the Gates Family Foundation, which is good. So we're going to continue working with this, and hopefully the other grants will come through as well. On the design update.
David, sorry to interrupt you, but could you talk just a little bit louder or move? I'm having a hard time hearing you this evening. Thank you.
Okay, sure. On the design update, as you know, we're adding the conference room back in since we did not get the DOLA grant to be under 5,000 square feet. The conference room is about 300 square feet, and we're in the process of amending the plans right now. We should have those shortly. The municipal parties, we met on June 6th, the city manager, myself, and all the other parties, and I must say it was a very, very good meeting, cordial meeting, and productive. We agreed to fund the project, or at least represent that to our council members, and we hope that we can get the IGA amended here in the near future. Based on what we're estimating is a opinion of probable cost for the building. As part of the amendment to the building plans to add the conference room back in, I've asked Eidos Architecture to give us an updated opinion of probable costs, and we'll base the amendment for the next IGA on that cost. So that's moving ahead fairly quickly here, I hope, and if all goes well and we get the IGA amendment, I'm hopeful to get the project on the street sometime in July and August.
It's good news.
Yeah.
Comments, questions? Thank you for your hard work on that. That's really wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next we have the Justice Center. David, that's you too.
Yeah. Okay, so the weather has been holding, I guess, so to speak. I just want to say that all the foundation work is done, the wall, the perimeter, grade beams, and the tall wall in the front. We had a massive pour on Friday. As you know, Thursday night we just missed the showers. We had a heavy rain early Friday morning, and fortunately we got our pour in, and 1/3 of the basement floor has been poured. So that is a great feat, and they are starting the form, laying down the void forms, and then the steel for the middle third of the floor to be poured hopefully at the end of this week. I want to say that it's moving on schedule. I did provide a schedule in your packet tonight. This is the first memo that I've put some contingencies, the expenditures in, just to keep council informed. I want to just explain what they are. The void form system. This particular building is built without a crawl space, so it's got the first floor that's it's not on grade. It's a structural floor system. It's above grade, and there's a space there. This is a void force system that FCI would requested that they use above and beyond the plans, and it allows all of the plumbing fixtures to be hung from the structural floor system. They have clean out so we can televise them, and it was a very slick system, and I think very important for this project for longevity of maintaining the facilities that are essentially unable to get to them once the building is constructed. That went on their contingency. There were two contingencies of which we approved, and that was the perimeter drain. If you notice on the table there, we upsized those from 4 to 6 inches and added some cleanouts. And after I consulted with my utility group, we strongly recommended that we upsize from 4 to 6 so we could get a camera down the perimeter drains and be able to inspect the building foundation and the moisture or lack thereof, we hope. And the second piece was structural fill in front of the 14-foot concrete wall. As you know, in Colorado, we have expansive soils, and we don't want any kind of moisture around the building. So I was looking for basically a structural material that had a better draining characteristics than the clay that we normally have, so that moisture that gets in front of the building can get down to the perimeter drain. So both of those two smaller contingencies were put on the owner's contingency. So other than that, the project's really going very well, and I'm very pleased with FCI as a contractor right now.
Great, great.
Any questions?
Questions?
That's great to hear.
Yes, Antonio?
This is not about either the Ralston House or the Justice Center, but now that I have you, and I know you're not on here anymore, so what's going on Melody Drive? I got all of Melody Drive blocked off in various parts, and people are asking me what's going on. What's going on?
Oh, which part of Melody Drive?
Well, from south of 104th, before you get to 101st Place, a lot of sewer, underground camera liner company. Yeah,
that is the South Fork of Grange Hall Creek, council member, and that's a very poor line. It's in very poor structural integrity, and we're trying to line those lines right now. So you'll probably see a lot of heavy equipment there trying to get into the line. There was a section that I believe it needed to be open cut because the pipe was in such poor shape that we couldn't get a liner through. So that might be the spot you're referring to.
It just, about 6 months ago, we did a major work in that same area. Is this related to that?
Exactly, it absolutely is.
Okay, if there's anything else, maybe the two of you can get offline since we don't have it in our discussion on the agenda. So.
Yeah, please, stop in anytime, Antonio. We'd be glad to talk to you about it.
I tried.
Yeah.
You know, and feel free to do that, you know, so, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Is there any other questions for Brooke? I mean, for David, rather. Okay, next we have marijuana business hours, so I will just turn that over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, we drafted a memo here, and really it's for us to receive a direction, both the city clerk, city attorney, and myself, regarding business hours of operation for marijuana businesses. And specifically, does the city council want to revise or extend the hours of operation as allowed under state law? And so what I've included here in the memo, I'm not going to read them in detail, but our current hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. And there's a list here of all these communities. You heard a lot of the testimony earlier tonight from about these communities, that everyone on the list does start at 8 a.m. And with the exception of Englewood and Commerce City for medical purposes, Wheat Ridge and Thornton, everyone goes till 10 p.m. or later. So this is really more factual information for you, just so you've got the details about what other jurisdictions are doing. And so we're open to hear your discussion and take any direction you want to give tonight.
All right, thank you. Discussion. Anyone have any? All right, Carol.
My feeling is that I think they should remain competitive with surrounding dispensaries and just surrounding cities. So I would personally be on board to change the hours to 8 to 10. I don't know if midnight would ever be in my realm to think of and consider. It may one day, but right now, no. But I am okay with the 8 to 10 increase in hours.
Okay. All right, anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah, Becky?
Go ahead, Mr. Brown. No, let him go first. He said it first.
Becky?
You know, I find myself in a weird position because I usually am very, progressive in this area. I just question opening at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's my only question. It seems like a little early. Just, you guys get what I'm saying, right? But I do agree that we as a community benefit from the taxes that our community brings in for this, and we have to be able to allow our business people to be competitive with everybody else. With that said, if the consensus was to open at 8 o'clock in the morning, I could be, I could go that way. But I'd like to see them not open past 10 p.m. if that's possible. I don't think that midnight is, I think it needs to be done by 10 o'clock.
Okay.
All right.
Any other discussion? Are we going?
I'm good with 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay. All right. Antonio?
I like the hours as they are.
As they are. Okay. Joe?
I have no issues with increasing them from 8 to 10. I think going past 10, I don't see the reason for that. But, something was brought up that, dispensaries, they didn't see their sales increase, or some of these dispensaries didn't see their sales increase by being open later. But I think our dispensaries should have the option to explore that themselves. If, they can be open till 10 o'clock. If their sales don't increase, then they can cut their hours back, But I think they should have the option to explore that. So there you go, my 2 cents.
Okay. Anyone else?
I agree with Mr. Brown.
Okay.
Are they able to do that if to say that they don't want to stay pat? They wanted to still close at 9 or close at 8, they're still able to make that decision?
Absolutely.
For a dispensary?
Yeah. Right.
Perfect.
Okay. Kyle?
I agree. I think that I value our businesses in Northglenn, and I think that the marijuana businesses have been good to us, and the tax revenue is great. I do like the idea that one of the owners brought up in regards to having some type of security on the premises after a certain time. I'm a fan of not going past 10 o'clock as well. And I think the saying goes, and it may not apply here, but my mom used to always tell me nothing good happens after midnight, but maybe that's nothing good happens after 8 and then businesses or whatnot. So that's something I would like to look at, and I know maybe some of our businesses already have that in place, but if they don't, I don't think more security is ever a bad thing. So.
Okay, all right. Kim, do you have any?
Well, before this evening, I was not in favor of extending the hours at all. I don't think that there's a need. I still really don't think that there's a need. However, this evening we had overwhelming support by our community, by our businesses in the community who would like to have the hours extended. And I think, Tim, thank you very much for coming. I think that you're an excellent representative for the community, for the industry, in coming out against your fellow operators. I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up and say, no, this is not a good idea. So I really appreciate that. But then I do have a couple of questions before we authorize the change. I would like to get a police report on crime statistics in the area. If there have been any issues with the dispensaries, I just think that we need to have more information on that. And then also, since this will be a municipal code change, I believe, we'll have public hearing for our residents, correct?
On second reading, yes.
And can we also, in that light, I think that this is important for our community and for our residential areas. I would like to see some extra outreach to our residents in those public hearing areas where the communities are, the businesses are, so that those residents really understand that we're looking at, because I do think, you know, the traffic impacts, things like that are important to me. So, you know, and quite honestly, like today would be a really good example where if the state allowed 7 a.m., it wouldn't be a bad thing because, you know, some of us work all day and then we sit here at council until 9 or 10 o'clock. So, you know, just saying. There are people who have other times of jobs and might need to go early in the morning. But, you know, all that being said, I would be okay with extending the hours 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. But with that additional information.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I agree with the council. I think I would like to keep our businesses competitive. I also like the idea and that looking at additional security during those hours, and maybe they already have it, I don't know. So anyway, I think that's the direction, is to change the hours. And I like the 8 to 10 personally. 7, Kim, is a little early, you know.
I'm just saying, some people got to be at work.
Can we require security? Is that
It sounds like what I've heard two of you say you would like to include within the draft security in-place security between 8 and 10 in terms of a security guard of some form. You certainly can.
At least take a look at it and see if it's reasonable to do that. I mean, you know, because I know we have a lot of security demands right now anyway on those businesses. You know,
I mean, the 9 of you get to decide,
right,
for better or for worse, whether it's reasonable.
Well, I know,
and so,
you know, and maybe we can have additional, we will have additional discussion on this anyway.
So should the draft that I bring to you have that language in it or not? That's ultimately the question I need for purposes of putting the ordinance together.
I like the idea. Let's see, Becky.
I think there has to be a conversation around that because, you know, just to say that they need to have security between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. because we've allowed them to increase the hours of their business may not be the best way to go about that. So my suggestion would be to not have that language in the draft and then build upon it if we need to.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Okay. Kyle.
I would say yes, I would like to see it, and one of the main reasons I say that is because the business is the one that brought that idea to us, and so like I said, I don't think more security is ever a bad thing, and I just think it's a good idea, and maybe it's not even you know, from 8 to 10, maybe it's expanded. I'm not quite sure what that may look like, but it was brought to us by the businesses that we're presenting, so that's why
I'm wondering if the business would come forward and actually articulate a little bit if they have security now between those hours.
Yeah, and I think we need to clarify, we're all saying more security.
Right. So what do you have?
Do you have security now?
Yes, we do. We have an asset protection officer on site at all times. Of course, with a pretty robust distribution logistics team that support them, bringing product in and out of the facilities. It was more of ensuring that everybody was on the same playing field. I don't necessarily know the security requirements or what the other stores do. I just know what we do. So it was an easy ask from us because we do it every day. If you decide that was a requirement, we felt it was reasonable.
So that security person that you have on staff will be, if the hours are extended, will be there whenever the store is open? Is
Yes,
that correct?
at our facility, yes. I can't speak for everyone else, but at our store, it always is.
From my understanding and, from touring some of the facilities, it seems like that's one of their requirements, that they have security on staff for protection, for their own protection, basically. Could we do anything as far as
if they have
put a formal request out to it, to find out, do you have security, or do you want me to drive by the mall, or?
Well, we don't want you to go out of your way, but I mean.
Well, there's 3 of them here, so we can
I
at least hear
know.
from 3. I know the
Right.
one next to me also has security at all times.
Okay.
So that's 4, so.
You do? Okay, all right. So
You
it
don't?
sounds to me.
We do not have any security because we do not believe that it is the right atmosphere to create. We're trying to make this a legal entity. We are aware of it's very difficult to deal with the money part of aspects of it, but we do not use security in any of our locations, and we hope that we will continue not to. But we also do not expect to extend our hours if that's the way that the city wants.
Okay. And it's not it wouldn't be mandated. You can opt to have whatever hours that you wanted to open, so, yeah.
Well, we want to ensure our patrons are safe, so we do that.
Okay, all right. Anyone?
So if I could just make a suggestion, Mayor, because we have one that says they don't and the other that are here say they do. If a business chooses to extend their hours, could that be in to say that we do require security? Is that appropriate?
We can decide whatever we want, so.
It doesn't sound like it might change anything, but if.
Right.
I think it's redundant. That's just my own opinion. It's redundant.
Right. They're already doing it.
Yeah, they're already doing it. They've taken upon themselves. What does us mandating that they have to have someone if they go past our old, think of it that way, our old time limit, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, they could choose not to have security. It's not a mandate right now. They choose to have security at this point.
Right. But what I'm saying is we're only extending their hours by a total of 3, right? We're not talking about putting security on at 7 o'clock in the morning, which we're not opening, right? But I assume that everybody would have security from time entered to time ending. We don't tell any other businesses or we don't tell the liquor stores that they have to have security on staff and they're open till midnight.
Right.
We don't tell Jack in the Box and they're open 24 hours a day, along with, McDonald's. So I think we have to take away any negative thoughts or any, we have to stop treating these organizations as if they are stepchildren to a real business plan. These are real businesses and they need to be treated that way. And I don't think mandating security, in my opinion, that's kind of, for lack of a better word, I think it's kind of condescending to the behavior. That's not the right word. Don't get it's not the right word, but they know what they're doing. And they're doing a darn good job at it. We can tell from the money in our accounts. I think that we should let them continue to do their business as adults.
Anyone else? I'm fine with that. Just forget my comment.
Just for clarification.
Yes.
Are we going to get a report from the PD, response to calls or whatever, between what hours?
Yes, I was going to ask a couple
What you were asking
clarifying questions about that when you were finished with your discussion, but I can ask that now. To follow up on Councilmember Snetzinger's comments, yes, we can absolutely do police reports. I guess I would want to know, how far away you'd like to go. We can make a judgment there. And then secondly, outreach. Are we talking about direct mailing to residents, or are we talking using our normal channels of social media and the website, et cetera?
Well, for me, I think that it's, calls related to marijuana, maybe, would be a good enough parameter. And making sure that we know, what's going on, at the dispensaries, and just to make sure that the locations are safe. I don't recall hearing much of anything, so I don't think it's a huge impact on our community, but I think that's important for our residents to know. I think that we've done very well with our current businesses who are in town. And then in terms of the outreach, I think that this is just one of those things that I think that takes a little extra outreach. So I would like to see, additional, I don't know if it's a direct mail piece or, we get Yankee Peddler to deliver flyers saying, hey, there's a public hearing, for a 2-block radius or something like that. It's just, marijuana is one of the issues in our community that we tend to get more negative impact and, input from our residents. And usually it's after we've done something and they are upset with us and call us potheads and, all of that nice stuff that I think it would be nice, because this is a significant change. It's only 3 hours, but I still think that it's a big change. So that's kind of what I was thinking. And I don't know what anybody else thinks about it.
I think we could have increase on, our social media, because we're trying to do that anyway. We could do some Facebook Live. I mean, we have Instagram, all of that type of thing, So I'm thinking even our newspaper that we send out, put a little blurb in that. I don't know that.
We don't have to.
Normal channels, no direct.
Yeah, just the normal.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm saying,
I know.
Right.
agree
Normal
with Joe.
channels, no direct mail.
There's no reason to treat the business differently than we would anybody else that wants to extend their hours, that we go out of our way to, not out of our way, but we spend additional funds to notify our constituents. They should have the same, I don't understand I guess where I'm trying to go without wrapping it all around. Why would we do extra mailers? Why would we treat this as different than any other situation that we have? I'm not understanding it. I guess that's it right there. I don't understand why we would allocate special funds or additional funds for this when we don't do it for anything else. Will we be doing it for a dog bakery or something like that? No, we wouldn't be. Any other business in our area who wants to extend their hours can extend their hours and do what they want, with the exception of liquor stores and our marijuana shops. So I don't know why we would do any extra community outreach. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that you're treating them differently, and it's setting up a pattern of treating that particular type of business in a different manner than any other business you have in the city.
So no direct mail, no direct mail.
Okay. Carol.
I believe that it will get enough press from us talking about it tonight and what will be put on the website, and that the people that are concerned about it will show up at the public hearing to give us their points of view. So I'm really not a fan of extra mailing. I'm agreeing with a lot of what Becky is saying. I agree that the security guard should be your idea and not mandated by us. I think you know best, and yes, that's what I'm on board for. Just changing the hours is good enough for me, so.
Okay.
I'll let Kyle go and then I'll go.
Kyle?
So Mayor, and aside from what I personally believe about marijuana, when I'm out in the community, it's a hot topic, and especially in our community. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad or that it's a bad industry by any means, but it's controversial with some members of our community. And so I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if there's potential that we're not going to be able to make it to the connection. If we can't make it in the connection, to try to do as much outreach as possible. I don't think it's ever a bad thing to engage our public and to engage our residents and encourage them to come have their voices be heard. And so if that means that we do some extra mailers, and I don't necessarily think that's treating a company any differently, that's just encouraging our residents to come out and engage in something that I hear a lot about when I'm out in the community. And so I don't think it's a bad thing, and it's something I would be for if we can't get it into the connection, which goes out to all of our residents.
And I don't know what the timeline is on the connection at all for the next month or so, but.
Well, we can, July's done, so we could time it for the public hearing to be in August after the connections hit the mailboxes, if that's your intent. Either way.
I'm fine with that. Extending it out another month.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that it's fair to get, I'm all for educating and getting, I'm the first one to say we need involvement and engagement. If we're going to do that, I'm going to sit up here every time we're doing something and go, I want to do it for that issue and I want to do it for that issue. You have to treat everybody the same. So I am for you know, waiting and having it in the connection. I'm sorry I cut you off. I forgot you were asked after Kyle.
You're good. So Marcy, do you want to say something?
I think the difference is slightly, and I'm opposed to doing the extra outreach, but I think where it comes into play is the fact that we notify the residents when a new license is up, and we don't do that with other businesses. So while I can see where it comes into play, I guess here's my next thing. We flyer these neighborhoods constantly when there's a new license, and they don't come and they don't talk about it. And we have it on the agenda for all these other conversations and discussions, and we don't hear from them and we don't see them. And I guess this is one of those times where, and you've all heard me say it before, if you don't come and you continuously don't come and you continuously don't come, how much effort do we have to put forward and how much do we have to spend when you don't show up? And as harsh as that might sound, I'm sorry, it's like 6 years of this, of hearing it outside the community and not inside where it matters. And that's just my viewpoint on it. And I also agree with Becky that we constantly seem to like find ways to put our hand and our opinion in how their businesses should operate. And I just feel like there's a point in which we have to say, you know, do a good job and we'll deal with it later if it doesn't work. I just don't think it's been enough of an issue with any of these locations that we need to require differences in security, and I don't think we do it for liquor stores.
All right. I think we have the consensus, and I agree totally.
Okay. We'll prepare the ordinance and then it'll be on so that the second reading is after the August connection.
All right. Sounds good.
If we're going to do that, we don't need the additional outreach. That is sufficient to me, and not to have to do flyers or anything in the neighborhood. I just think that giving people time, but when it was going to be in 2 weeks, that was my concern.
Okay.
All
So,
right.
so to summarize, make sure I've understood correctly, drafted as 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., no additional security guard, provide police reports within the immediate area of calls related to marijuana offenses, if you will, and then the extra outreach would really be our normal outreach and included in our normal operations, which is how we promote council meetings. But in this case, we do something special in the August connections to call attention to that meeting.
There you go.
Great.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next is the South Huron Landscape Project. Brooke and Jim, I guess.
I'll have Brooke come on up and walk through this item. I'll just defer to him to dive into this.
Gee, that was a great tee up there, wasn't it? Good evening, Mayor and Council. At the direction of Council, we were instructed to go out and put out an RFP to do the landscaping project based off of the South Huron corridor study that we put together. We went out and put it out to bid, and we originally came up with an estimate of about $100,000 with a $25,000 contingency. All the bids that we received, which is attached to your packet, came in above the budgeted amount. Our recommendation is to rebid this fall for a springtime construction, and I just want to briefly walk you through some of the rationale behind that. So first thing is that the concrete pricing was about 35% above what we normally see. Also, basically the rock cobble that we're going to be using we had estimated about $10 to $12 per square yard. It came in at $18.50 per square yard. So just to give you an order of magnitude, that $18.50 per square yard is about $67,000 of the contract. And so if you reduce that back in conjunction with the concrete pricing, which is $17,500 of the project, at least in this bid, and this is the lowest bid I'm referring to, by the way. If we get to, we estimated around $9 a square foot, and we came in at $14.60. So when you start doing those numbers, we actually get back down to what we had the original estimate for. Now, in my memo, I had mentioned that if we rebid this, we would hope to see lower prices next year. Part of the rationale behind that is a year and a half ago, we put out to bid the sidewalk project for the CDBG grant, and the exact same thing happened. Our pricing came in around double price per square foot what we had estimated for the concrete project. When we rebid that last fall, we actually got prices that we had actually estimated for that came in line with pricing. So that's part of the rationale behind the recommendation for staff. I would say that if it's council's direction to move forward with the current bid and moving forward, we would ask that we include a 10 to 15% contingency, which puts us at about $148,000 to $168,000.
All right. Questions, comments? Go ahead, Kim.
So this is going to be one of those evenings where I'm pretty harsh, just to give you all an update. Had we looked at this and been proactive 7 years ago when I first started asking about it, costs wouldn't be this high. I'm tired of this dragging on. It's city property. We've got to set an example for our residents. How dare we go out there and tell them, you need to maintain your lawn, you need to maintain your property, and then we look like this. It's unacceptable to me, and I think we have to move forward. I think the idea of thinking that maybe we'll have lower prices, I think that's great. Maybe we will. Based on all the construction that's going on, we're not going to have lower prices. I am sick and tired of this, and I want it done.
All right. Anyone else? Comments? Yes, Carol.
I do have to agree with a little bit of what she's saying in that I would think that the prices are still going to be high and higher because the town is booming. So I can't imagine the prices coming down. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. But
I will throw one anecdote. As I was at the pre-bid meeting, and one of the bidders that was not the lowest bidder actually said out loud that they were relieved that they did not get the bid because they couldn't have done the work.
This is their business.
Right.
So it's a catch-22.
Right.
And I would only just reiterate that this is the same situation we had come up with the CDBG, where we bid it in the spring for a summer fall project, and we got elevated prices. So that would be the only rationale to fall back on.
I just think it's the chance that you take. But I would say that I'm on board to get it done, just as I'm on board to move forward with what we're doing with the rec center, because the infrastructure is important and so is the community. So I am okay with spending the money on doing this project, as I'm definitely okay with moving forward earlier when we discussed the rec center project. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Antonio.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Kim's comment and thank you for your support. We have in Ward 4 and on Huron been putting people off for 12 years. I mean, it's time to, that's what my initial input was, to give them a little, don't give them the whole pie, give them a piece of the pie, let them know that we're interested in doing something. You know, if you give them something, you know, and then the following year, then eventually the whole project gets done. But to just postpone it and postpone it, this is what's brought us here, is postponing it.
Anyone else? Yes, Marcy.
I happen to agree. I think in some ways this is unfortunately like our penalty for constantly pushing it off. And remind me, is this the project that also includes fencing?
Nope.
No, okay. And I'm not confident the pricing is going to be better in the fall. I mean, I know we had that on one project, but my little bitty project in my house, this is my second year bidding it, and it still hasn't gone down, it went up, so I can't imagine that it's not going to do that in the city, so.
Kara.
Sorry. You know, we're not asking for millions to be put in there, and I'm sure, like, Kim would love to see millions put into this project. A high of 168,000. I mean, I just think it's necessary at this point. I really do. We have put it off for too long, and I think the residents there deserve it. So.
I'm following the crowd.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Anyone else? All right.
So I would recommend that in bringing this back, that we do a 25% contingency off the 135,000, because we do anticipate that we're going to encounter unknowns. Just knowing the general nature of what we have out there, and knowing that we'll likely need to utilize a contingency of that size for this scale project.
Okay.
So we will put this together and bring this back to you as soon as we can.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Brooke.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next, we have communications, and we'll start with Kim.
I know, you were scared, weren't you?
I know, I am.
Thank you for your support for the Huron Street, and my apologies for getting so fired up about it, but it's, boy, it's just something that needs to be done. And then for Jim, because Nura's not going to be doing any of the work at the 104th on the beautification of that, when can we expect those ramps to get mowed, because they look awful? And as major thoroughfares into our community, I think it's disrespectful for our residents to have to look at that mess. And I mean, it's just it's a very poor entrance. So if we could get those mowed, that would be very appreciative.
Yes, I'll follow up with CDOT and find out their
Excellent.
schedule.
Thank you.
Okay, Kyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity to attend the CML conference this past week and thought it was a great conference, and I think we were bringing back some really neat ideas. I know I've been in communication with some of the council members and the city manager about an idea from one of the sessions that we went to, and so I think it's going to really pay some dividends going to that conference. I also was looking at the calendar, and it doesn't look like we have a meeting again before the July 4th festival, and so I think just to put some ideas out there, they have the run in the morning. I'm going to attempt it this year. I don't know if we'll finish it or not, but I might get distracted by the pancake breakfast, so we'll see. They also have a lot of neat things, a lot of things for the kids, some bounce houses, and then obviously the duck derby race, which Gabby loves to watch every year. She loves to watch the ducks drop and watch them float down the creek. So yeah, and I wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July, and hope to see them out of the park.
Great, thank you. Jordan?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago I had a chance to present at the Daniels Fund, honoring the new scholars coming through. They have a week called Shift where they're preparing them for college and what it's going to be like once they arrive on their campuses, as well as attending the New Scholar Celebration Dinner, which we have 2 scholars from Northglenn, Michael LaDuke and Bradley Murphy. Just want to say congratulations, and it's awesome. CML, I attended the CML conference as well. I attended a great thing on the opioid epidemic, and which is great is through the VAIL grant acceptance, we're already doing our part in that by providing our police officers with certain things that will hopefully lower what's going on. Lastly, like Kyle mentioned, 4th of July weekend, well, not weekend, I guess it's on a Tuesday, I plan to do the run in the morning. And yeah, I hope you'll spend your 4th with us.
Can you walk? Yes?
I'm gonna try it, Mayor.
All right, okay. Joe?
So, last week, one of our residents, Steve Austin, was presented with the 7 Everyday Hero Award. And, you know, Steve is like the most incredible person I've ever met. He's 92 years old. He builds trails in the mountains. He volunteers a lot for the city. He does a ton of stuff for us. He runs the bike show over at M&O for, you know, Christmas, the bikes that they give away and stuff like that. And so I believe it's next month is when they're going to be televising the award. But Steve Austin, you're the man. Better than a lot of us.
Is there some way we could recognize him for doing that?
I think we do every year. We do it.
Well, I know, but what does council think?
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. All right. Okay, don't worry. Okay. All right.
We'll talk to you later.
Well, you know, are you done? You are done. And that was a good one. I had forgotten about that. That was really good. Yeah, I attended the CML conference also, and I think it was one of the better ones that we've attended. And we've attended the workshop for the opioids and a couple of the other things that I do believe that we'll be addressing in the near future. So, yeah, it was really good. Carol.
I attended the second quarter long-term employee awards, and I did want to mention that police officer Nate Myers he accepted an award for 30 years of service, which is amazing. And Commander Osgood was 25 years. So both of those are an amazing amount of dedication to a really hard profession. So just wanted to give them an extra shout out for that. and I don't know, this is like a PD thing all of a sudden. I did attend the swearing in for the new police officers. That was also a great event. I attended the senior picnic at Webster Lake, which provided a free picnic lunch for seniors, and it was a yummy fried chicken picnic lunch with lots of door prizes. I will also be in attendance at the 4th of July Festival, and I do want to say that, of course, I attended the CML conference where I took over the duties as the president of the executive board, and I have to just add that it's very fulfilling for me personally and professionally to have taken on these duties. I worked really hard creating a lot of relationships with people to get where I am, and it took years to get there, but I am pretty proud of myself, so I just have to pat myself on the back. I didn't want applause, I just wanted to say that. That's it.
Becky?
Well, I'm angry with Carol Dodge because she stole what I wanted to say about her presidency and all the wonderful things that she's done for the community. I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud that she's part of our council. I also went to CML. Did that wrong, didn't I? Did I get it right this time?
CML, yes, you're correct.
Sorry guys, for those of you who don't know, I have a program that I run that has the same acronyms and I get them confused all the time. It's driving me crazy, and my boss. Learned lots of really exciting things. I'd like to thank the mayor for encouraging me to attend this year. I had a really great time. I found out that you guys are all fun, but I really learned a lot of things and I look forward to implementing them in the future with the city. I will not be at the 4th of July event this year, so I will not be serving beer or any other kind of drinks. I will be attending the Pirate Fest though, later in October. September? Dang donkeys. Can't wait for that one. That was my favorite event. And that's all I have today.
Marcy.
Marcy.
So at the library board last Wednesday, they did approve an agreement with the City of Commerce City for their new development at the Greyhound Park. So if we could maybe get a copy of that, it would be great to see it. It wasn't something that was handed out, so I would love to see it myself. So and I'm sure other council folks would like to see it, and exactly what was approved. I think it was a 4-to-1 vote was what it was decided. And then Carol did mention her president status for CML board, and so a lot of congratulations to you. And I'm excited that the rest of the board will be coming here to Northglenn in July to be able to see our community and host their retreat here, and be nice to have them here. I'm proud of our city.
Antonio.
I too attended the swearing in of 6 police officers. I visited with most of them, and I have to say that they're a bunch of good, young-looking officers. I thought it was very nice.
And that is one of the requirements.
Well, no, you know.
Absolutely.
Communication skills is paramount. And these young men had, compared to others that I've talked to, these young men had some very good communication skills. Officer Rodriguez, you know, I asked him, I said, ¿habla español? He said, sí. And I said, everybody can say sí. And then he said, claro que sí. You know, I thought, oh, all right, you know, I like this. So, the young man from Northglenn High School, you know, I mean, grow our own. Went to Leroy, you know, I mean, I was impressed. And we stole 2 from Adams County, so that's even better. I too will not be here for the 4th of July. I had hoped to bring my latest car in and attend the car show, but other things came up and I too will not be attending, so y'all have fun.
All right, thank you. Okay, Joanna.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Jim.
Just a reminder, I sent this out last week, but I will be out of the office June 28th until July 10th. Mr. Willett will be the acting city manager at that time. But of course, I'm only a phone call and an email away if you absolutely need to get a hold of me. So.
Okay, thank you. Corey.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is public invited to be heard, 3 minutes per speaker. Is there anyone that would like to speak to us for up to 3 minutes? Seeing no one approach us, I will move to go into adjournment and into executive session pursuant to Section 4.5, Parent D of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for legal consultation and advice regarding the Water and Wastewater Fund, and 2, pursuant to Section 4.5, Parent E of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for litigation against Thornton and the marijuana sales tax litigation against Adams County.
Second.
Okay, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.